Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're here joining us. We are recording today, so the video will be available later for viewing on our library YouTube channel. The Mountain View Public Library hosts the Noon on Zoom series with hopes of bringing relevant and informative topics to you at a good time of the day. Some of you may have noticed the original event description indicated Liz Slocum as host. That has changed, but you will see, I think, that you'll be thrilled with our presenter here today. We are really happy to have Matt Savage here. Matt is the Substance Use Prevention Program Manager at our Santa Clara County Public Health Department and works directly under our County Supervisor, Joe Simidian. Matt has studied advanced levels of nonprofit management and holds advanced degrees focusing on healthcare administration and management. And with that, my name, by the way, is Rick Hansen. I'm a youth librarian here at the Mountain View Public Library. And again, I'm thrilled you're here, and we're so happy to have Matt Savage here. And Matt, let me hand it over to you.
Well, great. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I'll go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining me. My name is Matt Savage, and I'm a program manager here at the Public Health Department. I'm here to talk about some of the new emerging cannabis products that people may have seen, and that there are some public health concerns. So I'll do a little intro at the beginning. I'll define intoxicating hemp, which is part of a group of emerging cannabis products. We'll talk about some of the legal loopholes that led to these products being so widely available, some of the public health concerns, especially with youth, and what the public health department is doing both to impact policy and to educate the public. So I'm part of a much larger team here at Public Health that does both tobacco and cannabis policy. You can see me up there in the top right. That said, if you're interested in learning more about tobacco or vaping, either at this or at another forum, please let us know. We have a whole team that can do information about that. That said, my program arose because of some of the cannabis products that were being seen in tobacco shops. It focuses on three things. One is community education. That's what you see here, being out in the community, telling the public about these products. Policy technical assistance. That's when we provide assistance to cities, city councils, and school boards to make policy for these products. And what I'm most excited about is youth participatory action research. We're going to be funding 5 local nonprofits that serve youth and are led by youth to have them make change in their own communities related to cannabis policy. So substance use prevention policy is one of the newest programs here at the Public Health Department, where we work with elected officials, community leaders, and other stakeholders in order to inform policies that can reduce underage access to alcohol, cannabis, and other substances, although we'll mostly focus on cannabis in this presentation. And we have 2 active policy campaigns. One is to limit access to intoxicating hemp products. The other is to create a school buffer zone for small alcohol retailers. We won't really talk about alcohol in this presentation, although I'd be happy to come back at a later date if that's of interest. We have 2 funding sources. One is federal funding through the Behavioral Health Services Department, and that's to develop and implement our policy agenda. And then we also have the state grant, both for the community education and our work helping youth to make policy change in their communities. And as I mentioned earlier, and we'll get back to this later, but one of our big concerns about intoxicating hemp, it's a cannabis product we'll talk more about shortly. And these are some of the policies that local jurisdictions consider if they want to help regulate the sale of these products. And we're also out and about meeting with all kinds of groups of people, city staff, city council members, school board trustees, nonprofits, and then just members of the community like yourselves. We're also really excited about our Youth for Action research. This is launching right now. A panel just selected 5 youth organizations throughout the county to do this work. And over the next almost 2 years, youth will be examining different policies related to cannabis. They'll pick a policy to take action on, and then they'll receive training and technical assistance from nonprofits and from the county so they can go out and meet with elected officials, school board members, school leaderships. They can make policy change in their community, which we're really excited about. Okay, I've talked about this a few times now, but most of you are probably thinking, what the heck is intoxicating hemp and why does this guy keep talking about it? So we're getting a little scientific here, but bear with me. So intoxicating hemp, which goes by a number of different names you'll see on the left, is a new and emerging cannabis product that's being seen throughout the county. There's dozens of stores that sell it throughout the county, including 4 or 5, over in Mountain View. But Mountain View is not an exception. Most of the cities in the county have at least one store selling these products. You take the cannabis sativa plant, that's the plant where marijuana or cannabis comes from. You extract hemp, that's the material that's used to make, you can make paper, rope, clothing, different food products. You extract from that CBD, that's a non-psychoactive cannabis product. Some of you may have seen it in like hand lotions or other things. It's, it won't get you high like cannabis will, but it does have like a relaxing property. But then you use different chemical processes involving acids, solvents, or heats. And from that, you can extract intoxicating hemp. And that is psychoactive in the same way that traditional Delta-9 cannabis products are, traditional marijuana is. And one of the concerns we have is how similar these products look compared to other cannabis products or even to typical food products. So as you guys can see up here on the screen, I'm guessing, at least immediately, most of you probably can't tell which one is a cannabis product and which one is a intoxicating hemp product. And I'm looking in the chat here, and it doesn't look like anybody has any immediate guesses about which is which. So I'll just go ahead and press it on the screen here. Oh, we lost excuse me. So the one on the left is intoxicating hemp. The one on the right is regulated cannabis. But again, you wouldn't really know by looking at these products. There's also concerns about how some of these products can look to just traditional snack products. This is like a Cheetos Delta-8 product. And then the one on the left are cannabis products. But again, if you weren't paying a lot of attention, you wouldn't necessarily know that they weren't chips. You'd have to pay attention to it. And then this one here, this isn't even like a cannabis fruit cereal. This is just regular Fruity Pebbles. The one on the right here is intoxicating hemp product. So again, it just looks very similar to these products, which is a concern either for accidental ingestion or just for being more attractive to kids. There's a lot of different intoxicating hemp products. This was a picture taken in North County, but I've seen these pictures. They've seen these products sold throughout San Jose and other cities. They can be vaped, they can have edibles, you can have flour, but the one that's perhaps most attractive to kids are the ones seen in this picture, which are kind of the edible, kind of candy looking products here. Here's kind of some more products. Again, this one looks like a cookie. This one has like strawberry shortcake on it. But then the ones on the left here are probably the most concerning. I saw 2 of these on the top left in Sunnyvale, the lightsabers and the warheads. They look just like candy. If you were a parent, you'd have to like pay attention and look in the corner to see that it's an intoxicating hemp product. There's also ways to hide these products in, highlighters, sunglasses, it's a water bottle right there. You can see in this video, this is an actual workable pen that can be used to vape intoxicating hemp products, but, it's actually a vape. So that's of concern. So talking a little about some of the differences between regulated cannabis and intoxicating hemp. So most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with regulated cannabis, marijuana. It's psychoactive. It occurs naturally in the plant. If it's sold at a licensed dispensary, it's tested and those results are shared with the state. And you have to be 21 or older to purchase. And from what we've heard, dispensaries in San Jose do a pretty good job of actually checking IDs. Intoxicating hemp products are promoted as being licensed psychoactive, but it really varies. And Delta-8, from what we've read, isn't quite as psychoactive as Delta-9 THC, traditional marijuana. But some of these newer products like THCP is actually significantly stronger than regulated cannabis. So that's of concern. Most of these products are not found naturally in the plant, or if they are, it's in very small amounts. These products are not tested or approved for sale by the FDA, and there's a lot of legal uncertainty, which we'll get to later. For those of you that like chemistry, you can see that the chemical formula here are very, very similar. You're just moving around, one atom here between to get a delta 8 or a delta 9 or delta 10 THC. But that said, one has to be sold at a dispensary. The other ones are being sold at smoke shops, convenience stores, liquor stores throughout the county. Yeah, you can see here that's the chemical bond that is the difference. So again, that's because they aren't regulated like cannabis, and because they can be stronger than cannabis, you could have ones here, that's 5,000 milligrams of active ingredient that would never be allowed in the legal cannabis market. And, because it contains THC, that one has many times the potency of regular products. And as you can see here, even the companies themselves are advertising that it's more has more impact. That's part of their marketing is that fact. So how did this happen? So the federal government legalized hemp in 2018. And they did it because, they wanted to allow for the sale of rope or fabric or so forth. But the unintentional consequence has led to the wild west of these different intoxicating hemp products. The whole intention was just to allow non-taxing products like CBD. It's just unleashed all kinds of different products. So as a result, especially because labs can't always determine the chemicals in these products, these are being sold, and then there's no age restrictions in place because, again, legally it's the same as like hemp rope or CBD lip balm, when in all actuality it's an intoxicating product. So as I've said before, our big concerns are youth access. People aren't necessarily checking IDs, lack of lab testing. It's not required because it's not a regulated cannabis product, and then it also just undermines the regulated market that has to adhere to all these things. And it just comes in all kinds of different forms: edibles, vapes, inhalers, you name it. There's a lot out there. And as a result, in 2021, 18% of exposures reported to the poison control resulted in hospitalization. That was 120 cases. And 250 cases involved pediatric patients less than 18, and this has only grown since then because these products have become more ubiquitous since then. There's also just no standard dose, so people will take too much of this product because they don't know how much to consume. And again, I keep coming back to this. There's some rules about candy and copyright infringement and being friendly to kids that cannabis products have to adhere to, but these intoxicating hemp products aren't adhering to that. So you've got like this Sour Patch Kids over here. That's the kind of thing that you're less likely to see in the legal cannabis market. And the ease of access is just really concerning. Half of 10th graders in the state of California who have used a cannabis product, their first cannabis product was a Delta 8 intoxicating hemp product. It wasn't traditional cannabis because they're widely available at smoke shops, liquor stores, and gas stations, again, including about 4 or 5 here in Mountain View. And the packaging isn't carbon resistant. So yeah, as a result, as this study came out earlier this year, 11% of 12th graders used psychoactive Delta 8 THC. In fact, the Delta 8 and other intoxicating hemp market is now almost as big. It's $28 billion compared to the $31 billion cannabis market. So it's growing very rapidly. So yeah, as a result, we have legal cannabis, we have intoxicating hemp, in addition to the illicit market of hemp and cannabis. So there's all kinds of things that for our youth. And then just real concerns about the lack of lab testing. We don't really know how it's made. It's not being regulated. There's just a lot of concerns here. A lot of more research needs to be done. And as I mentioned before too, just the amounts in these products are just much higher because they aren't very well regulated. So people are getting much more intoxicated. They're getting much more higher than they intend to. So there's different policies that communities and policymakers can pursue. So if a community wanted, they could completely ban these products. They could, oh, sorry, let me go back here. They could also regulate them. So, make sure that ID is required, they're not being sold to kids, etc. Or you could just transition this entirely to the cannabis market. So you could make it so that dispensaries can sell them, but they can't be sold at your local liquor store that doesn't have some of the same requirements that dispensaries in San Jose do. We're also just doing a lot to get the word out. So we have our youth center policy advocacy and education. We're doing presentations at least once a month, like the ones we're doing here. And then we'll also have a policy symposium coming up next year, so that policymakers can learn more about not only these intoxicating hemp products, but all kinds of different cannabis products in order to make more informed policy. There's some resources here that if they're of interest to people, you can also just email us and we're happy to answer any questions you might have. And then last but not least, this is our survey. If you have the time, please, take a picture and fill it out. It's a quick survey. It helps us inform our presentations so we can make them even better. And it also just tells our grant funders, that we're out here doing the work. Anyway, I'll go ahead and I'll stop sharing my screen, but I can reshare it if people have questions and we'll need to go back to a specific slide. Otherwise, I'm happy to take questions. Yeah, so it's small right there at the bottom. So it says like Delta 8 there, whereas the one on the right, it's traditional cannabis. Yeah, same here. It's this little logo here versus this logo here. Oh yeah, see, there you go. It's highlighted there. And then again, even just breakfast cereal, it's amazing how close the labeling is because it's a blatant copyright violation. So they have the cartoon characters, they have the same color scheme. I think even the image of the cereal is the same. The only difference is this small thing right down here in the middle, which says medicated. And if you were to open up the package and take out the cereal, it also would look very similar.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, to clarify, to give some credit to the legal cannabis market, we don't see this to the same degree in the legal cannabis. Not that no one ever. Yeah, it's missing the Post logo. Well, yeah, it's not. Then Post would really go after the Post logo was there. But yeah, it is interesting. Like Post and other companies haven't done a lot of lawsuits here. I think they don't want to bring attention to it. But yeah, the legal dispensary products, you see some copyright infringement, but with the Delta 8, because it's already in a legal gray area, you see things these blatant. And again, these pictures we found online, but I've seen stores in Mountain View and Sunnyvale and San Jose that have. In fact, actually, I think there was a Fruity Pebble product in a Mountain View store on El Camino. It wasn't quite as blatant. It was not as blatant as that one, but it did have Fred and Barney on it.
Are these products made locally in California or the United States, or do you know if they're international?
Yeah, we don't know for sure. There are California companies that make them, including, in fact, one of the more prominent ones that makes them. You may have seen the T-shirts that say Cookies on it. So Cookies is a North Bay based company. So that's at least one company we know of. There's some in Southern California. It's possible that they're being imported overseas. We don't know. A lot more research needs to be done there. With the legal cannabis market, they do a better job of tagging and tracing the cannabis to make sure that it doesn't end up in the illegal market. There's still definitely concerns about illegal cannabis, going to the legal market, but there's some attempt to track and trace. With Delta 8, there's none of that. So we don't really know where it's coming from. We know some is made in California, but we don't know if some could also be made out of state or even out of the country.
And when you come across some that are illegally being sold in these stores, like the one in Mountain View or in the other towns in the county, Does the county try to find out where purchase that product from?
So our program does not, we don't have the legal or police powers to do that. I will say the Mountain View Police Department did investigate a couple of the shops and seized products. This was more recent. Some of the people on the call, may have seen that in the Mountain View Voice or the Palo Alto Weekly. So I know that the Mountain View police have done this. There's also been statewide investigations. I know the governor's office, well, I don't, wouldn't be his office, it would be some law enforcement agency in the state has seized product, but our county has not, no.
Okay. And another question that came in is asking about your involvement with the youth advisory group in Mountain View to educate the youth, or perhaps other advisory groups.
Yeah, so there are 5 youth groups that we selected. There was a competitive bidding process, and 5 were selected to participate in the program. So they will be part of it. I have not met with the Youth Advisory Council in Mountain View. I did meet with there's like a Police Advisory Council in Mountain View, I think they're called. I met with them. But if somebody has a contact for them and wants to put in the chat, I'd be happy to reach out to them. That'd be great. I'd be happy to talk to them. A lot of my outreach has focused on parents and adults because we don't necessarily want youth to know these products are out there.
Oh, yeah.
But that said, the Youth Advisory Council probably could be trusted. But like when we do presentations to schools, we primarily to students, we would focus primarily on the legal cannabis market just because kids are. It's kind of like with vaping. The public health department did not do presentations to schools about vaping when they first emerged, just because they didn't want people to know the products existed. Whereas now they're so ubiquitous, we'll talk about vaping in schools.
And there's a question that came in asking about some of the edibles and intoxicating chemicals that are legally sold at gas stations. Otherwise, there is an ID requirement, and could you talk about the difference and just walking us through it as we're taking in everything you're telling us, and how it could be a youngster could not buy some of the legal products, but some of the other things they might be susceptible to.
Yeah, and I should step up and briefly defend Mountain View gas stations. We have not seen this for sale in any gas stations in Mountain View. So in the city of Mountain View, we've only seen it for sale in smoke shops and at one liquor store. So the gas stations are off the hook. But there was a gas station in Milpitas where this product was being sold. I think it was a vapable, not an edible. But certainly throughout the state, these products are sold in gas stations and throughout the country. And here in San Jose, there has been issues with smoke shops not checking ID. In fact, one of the smoke shops in Mountain View that was visited by the police, there was an undercover buy. So that's in the Mountain View Voice if people want to read it. But as far as we know, there's been no issues with gas stations in this county selling these products without ID. But there has been issues with smoke shops selling without ID. And then they've also found them for sale in liquor stores. Although we have no evidence that the liquor stores aren't IDing people. I would guess the liquor stores are more likely to ID since they're already IDing for alcohol products, but that's just a guess. I don't know, and we don't have youth on a stipend as part of our team who can do like undercover buys. We did just bring on 5 youth organizations, so if they wanted to, they could attempt to buy these products to see how well enforced the ID laws are, but they're going to do youth-led projects, so they'll decide what they want to do, and we'll help them. Yeah. Oh, I do see a comment here about MVPD. Yeah, we've met with MVPD several times. We've met with the SROs in particular several times. I've shared flyers with the SROs or the school resource officers, the one that go into the schools. So yeah, it would be my hope that they would incorporate this as part of their. I don't know if they still use DARE or some other program like that. I know DARE has some controversy to it, but yeah, no, I'd be. I mean, I've met with MVPD before. I'd be happy to meet with them again, and they're more than welcome to have this PowerPoint or PowerPoints of some of our partners if they want to present this information. And I will say, to their credit, of all the meetings I've had, most people, when I say intoxicating hemp or Delta 8 or synthetic cannabis, they have no idea what I'm talking about. MVPD every officer I've spoken to immediately knew what I was talking about. So MVPD, more than teachers, more than elected officials, more than nonprofits, they know this is going on. In the case of a couple stores, they've even taken action. But I don't know about presentations in the schools. I would hope so. I know they have SROs at the schools. I believe they make presentations. They've worked with our tobacco team around vaping before. So perhaps they could incorporate that as part of those presentations.
Well, that's great to hear about MVPD. We're so grateful to have such a great city staff and city officers here, always knowledgeable and helping us. And now a big part of what you're doing is sharing this information and communicating it as we
Absolutely.
make it to different groups. And I wonder if you could elaborate just a little more about the various steps you're taking to spread this information and doing the great work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a quick slide about this that I'll throw up again. Yeah, so these are just some of the organizations we've met with. So we've met with city staff for a couple cities. We have the city council members in at least 4 cities. We've met with school board trustees for at least half a dozen districts at this point. We've met with a few healthcare organizations, including El Camino. We've met with police departments, including MVPD. We've met with public health departments in other counties to see what they're doing, including in LA. We've met with county offices of education, a couple places. We've met with school districts, including Mountain View and Mountain View Westman. We've met with different nonprofits, associations, and organizations. But that said, we'll speak to anybody, and if anybody wants to learn about this, we're happy to do it. Reach out to me, reach out to Rick, and he can give you my email. Go to our website. Oh yeah, I'll definitely put the code back up to scan. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, please. I need feedback. And actually, as Rick mentioned, Liz usually does this presentation, so I need the feedback about how to do this. Liz is a little more experienced than I am.
You're doing outstanding.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I'm usually the one that
Wonderful.
speaks to electeds. She's the one that does the committee presentations. There, that's back up. Please take a picture and do our quick survey. But yeah, no, I'm happy to speak to anybody. Parent groups, PTAs, faith groups. I don't know a lot about the Youth Advisory Board in Mountain View. They must not have existed when I was growing up, because I went to middle and high school here, and I don't. If they existed, I didn't know about them. But yeah, any group, we've gone to block parties, National Night Out. We're going to go to the Sunnyvale Farmers Market in a few weeks here. Just anywhere in the county, there's a small or a not small group of people that want to learn more.
Yeah, and it's creating that buffer zone that's important to protect their youth and those who may not be aware what is in the product. And the way it's so disguised also is someone could accidentally purchase it who wasn't intending to. And limiting the access, as you mentioned, is one of the most important goals. And I'm so glad we're able to bring this to the people in Mountain View and discuss it and make it more on the forefront of their minds.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a strange loophole, because I know Mountain View is one of those cities that decided as a city not to sell cannabis, which is fine, which is great. We're neither for or against a regulated cannabis market. But again, Mountain View decided not to do it, but yet these products are being sold in the city. So that's part of why we're making sure that people know that it's happening, make sure parents know it's happening, make sure school officials know it's happening. And then also elected officials, we don't make any strict, not like we're trying to pass laws here, but we are trying to inform elected officials so that they can decide what policies they may or may not want to do.
Oh, great. And one of our attendees here has put in the email information for the youth advisory contact.
Oh, great. I'll capture that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to them. Yeah, I mean, when I spoke to the police advisory commission, and I apologize if that's not their exact name. It was a really interesting presentation. I really enjoyed talking to them. So happy to talk to youth as well.
Yeah, and do you think these labs that are adding the chemicals are part of that is also a mystery, and how they're solely operating in order to circumvent what is technically something not on the books, but they have an operation in order to enhance the legal product. And we start to wonder, where does something like this exist? I know I asked it, could it be overseas? Could it be in California or in the US? But just a quick, brief question to ask.
Mhm.
Is there any further information about how they are operating themselves and how such organizations operate? Are they illegal to do that as an institution? Can we picture a brick and mortar shop, or is it something more nefarious in someone's basement or in a backyard and they're a hidden
Yeah.
potentially?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, the ones that we know the most about are the least nefarious.
Hmm.
So Cookies, that's a cannabis brand that folks may have heard of. If nothing else, they've just seen people wearing the Cookies t-shirts and not realized it was a cannabis brand.
Hmm.
Stizzy is another one that again, they make cannabis products, so they also make these products. So as far as we know, the conditions under which their cannabis products are made are the same as the conditions that their intoxicating hemp products are made. The only difference being they're not required to test the intoxicating hemp products, and those results aren't required to be sent to the state. So if you sell a legal cannabis product, it has to be independently tested by a separate lab, and then those results are shared to the state. And then it'll even say on the packaging, what percentage of the cannabis product is THC, which is the
Hmm.
active ingredient.
Hmm.
But those aren't the only folks that make these products. So
Hmm.
if there's a organization or a company that's making these products that isn't part of the cannabis market,
Hmm.
we don't know as much about how they're made. And that doesn't necessarily mean something terrible, nefarious is going on.
Hmm.
We just don't know. And these organizations aren't um they aren't voluntarily sharing that information.
Yeah.
So the cannabis companies, in order to sell it legally, they have to provide information to the state about how their products are made.
Okay.
So yeah, more research certainly needs to be done, and it's research that can be more harder to gather just because people don't necessarily want to give up that information.
Okay. And if anybody has a question they'd like to put in the chat or unmute themselves, please feel free to. I'm so glad we were able to have this discussion and presentation and to have Matt Savage here. We talked about the various steps to communicate amongst the area, amongst residents in not only Mountain View, but the county and the state, and how Matt communicates with other counties and law enforcement officers and schools and districts. And it's great to hear that the information is spreading, and that's what we're trying to do here also. And he's talking with elected officials, he's talking with all these other regulation groups. And we just want to get the word out there that some of the information, products that are sold are illegal and others are legal. And that most of the stores seem to be doing what they should by requiring an ID for some of the items. And I know in the past I've seen a map on one of the websites about certain stores that do sell either alcohol or the legal product, and perhaps those are the stores that we might want to be a little more aware of that could potentially have some of the products that are illegal. Is that something on your website, Matt? Do you recall?
Yeah, so we have a map of alcohol retailers on our
Okay.
website. We don't have a map of cannabis retailers on our website. We are developing flyers that show where these products are being sold in the county. It's not part of this PowerPoint. In the PowerPoint I give to elected officials, I'll usually tell them, where the stores are that are selling those products in their community.
Okay.
So in Mountain View, there's a couple on El Camino. There's another one on Old Middlefield Road. There's another one on Castro, and I think the fifth one I think is on Ranksdorf. So kind of evenly spread throughout the city of Mountain View, with maybe a disproportionate number on El Camino.
Okay. And the Santa Clara County Public Health Department does so much, and it's great to just have you here to talk about all of it. And I encourage others to go onto their website and to explore and see some of the great resources there. I wanted to thank you again, Matt, and thanks to our audience for joining us. Our next Zoom at noon is Thursday, September 5, where we have a specialist from the San Andreas Regional Center discussing individualized education programs. Thank you so much again, Matt. We really appreciate this wonderful presentation and to our audience who's here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. And thanks, everyone. Have a
Take
great
care.
day.